The morning sun spilled softly through the lace curtains, casting a gentle glow over the modest room where Aisha sat quietly, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the delicate veil over her hair. Today was the day she had dreamed of for years. Her wedding day with Farid, the man she loved with every fiber of her being. Yet, beneath the calm surface, a tempest of emotions churned within her heart. Joy mixed with an unshakable sense of foreboding. The village buzzed with life outside. Children's laughter floated through the air. Elders exchanged blessings, and the scent of jasmine and rose petals filled the narrow streets. But inside, Aisha's world was small and still, held together by the fragile hope that this union would be their sanctuary, a brief moment of peace before the shadows of war reclaimed her husband. Farid was already waiting at the mosque, his uniform immaculate, eyes shining with pride and love. He had spent countless hours preparing for this day, but in those moments just before the ceremony, he seemed distant, as if part of him was already gone, pulled away by the invisible threads of duty. When Aisha entered the mosque, their eyes met, and all the noise faded away. It was as if time itself paused to witness the bond they were about to seal. She walked toward him with a slow certainty, each step carrying the weight of dreams and silent prayers. The imam's voice rose, chanting blessings over the couple, while the guests watched in reverent silence. Farid took Aisha's hands in his, rough from training yet gentle with her. His voice, steady but thick with emotion, pledged to stand by her side through whatever storms might come. Aisha's own vow was whispered with a trembling heart, a promise of unwavering faith, even if they faced the harshest of separations. As they exchanged rings, a hush fell over the room. The simple gold bands gleamed, symbols of hope and commitment in a world increasingly uncertain. Aisha caught the slight tremor in Farid's fingers, a flicker of doubt he masked beneath a brave smile. The ceremony ended, but the weight of reality pressed down on them both. Outside, the celebration resumed. Music, dancing, and joyful faces that belied the truth neither dared voice. For Farid's orders had come just hours before the wedding, an urgent deployment to Yemen, where the conflict with the Houthi forces was intensifying. No one spoke of it openly. War was always the shadow lurking behind these happy moments, a thief waiting to steal the fragile joys of life. But in the quiet corners of their hearts, Aisha and Farid knew the bitter truth. Their time together might be painfully short. That evening, beneath the silver light of a crescent moon, they sat side by side on a worn wooden bench in the courtyard. The laughter of guests echoed faintly from the house, but here, in the stillness, the weight of what was to come settled between them like a thick fog. Farid reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from Aisha's face. "I wish I could stay," he whispered, voice breaking. "I promised you forever, but the world demands something else." Aisha swallowed the lump in her throat. "I know," she said softly, "but promise me you'll come back to me." He nodded, eyes shining with unshed tears. "I promise. No matter what happens, I will find my way home." They held each other tightly, as if by sheer will they could bend fate itself. Hours slipped by unnoticed, their whispered confessions and tears weaving a fragile cocoon of love and hope. The next morning came too soon. Dawn's pale light found them standing at the edge of the village, bags packed, hearts heavy. Soldiers gathered, orders were read, and goodbyes were said with trembling hands and choked voices. Aisha clung to Farid's uniform, memorizing the feel of the fabric, the scent of his cologne, the last tangible pieces of the man she loved. He pulled her close one final time, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Stay strong for me," he murmured. "I will," she vowed, tears blurring her vision. As the convoy rumbled away, Aisha stood rooted to the spot, watching until the dust swallowed the last glimpse of her husband. The village seemed emptier now, the laughter distant and hollow. Days turned into nights, and nights back into days. But Aisha's world was frozen in that moment of farewell. She found herself waking each morning, hoping to hear his voice, waiting for a letter, a sign, anything that would bridge the unbearable distance between them. She began writing letters, pages filled with her fears, her love, her prayers. Each word was a lifeline, a prayer sent across the miles to keep their bond alive. She wrote of the small things, the flowers blooming by the window, the taste of the morning tea, the memories of their brief time together, clinging to hope that he would read them and know she was waiting. Yet, with every passing day, the silence grew heavier. The absence of his words gnawed at her, shadows creeping into her heart. Friends tried to comfort her, reminding her of Farid's bravery and the honor of his sacrifice, but no platitude could fill the void left by his silence. Aisha's nights were restless, haunted by dreams where Farid stood just out of reach, calling her name, but disappearing before she could touch him. She prayed endlessly, her faith a fragile thread holding her together. Her family watched helplessly as the vibrant young woman they knew faded into quiet sorrow, each day marked by waiting and wondering. Through it all, Aisha clung to the promise made under the crescent moon, the vow of love, the hope of reunion, the unyielding belief that even in the darkest storms, the heart's whisper could never be silenced. But deep down, she feared the worst. That war, like a merciless tide, would wash away everything she held dear. The weeks turned into months, but the world outside Aisha's small home felt frozen in time. Each morning, she awoke with the same lingering hope that today she would receive a letter from Farid, a single word to break the unbearable silence. But day after day, the mailbox remained empty, its cold metal a cruel reminder of the gulf widening between her and the man she had vowed to love forever. She sat by the window every evening, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold. To the world, it was a beautiful sight, a daily miracle. To Aisha, it was a reminder that life marched on, indifferent to the battles waging inside her heart. Her neighbors brought food and tried to offer gentle words of comfort. "He is a hero," they said. "The country needs brave men like him." But none of their words could reach the cavern of emptiness growing inside her. Nights were the hardest. Alone in the darkness, memories swirled like restless ghosts. She remembered the feel of Farid's hands, calloused yet tender, the warmth of his smile that had promised safety, the way his eyes lit up when he looked at her. She clung to those memories as if they were lifelines, fragments of a love that the war threatened to erase. In those lonely hours, Aisha took out the stack of letters she had written him, pages and pages of her heart poured out in ink. Sometimes she read them aloud, her voice trembling. "My love, I hold on to the promise you made under the crescent moon, the promise that no matter what happens, you will come back to me. Every day, I pray for your safety. Every night, I dream of your return. Please come home. She folded the letters carefully and placed them in a wooden box, their worn edges whispering of a hope that refused to die. One evening, the village was quiet, the usual chatter subdued as a heavy sense of anticipation hung in the air. Aisha had heard rumors, fragments of news carried by soldiers returning home briefly. Something had happened in Yemen, something terrible. Her heart pounded with a dreadful mix of fear and denial. She clutched the edges of her shawl tightly, willing herself not to succumb to the darkness threatening to swallow her whole. Then came the knock at the door. Two men in uniform stood solemnly, their faces grim. Aisha's breath caught in her throat. Without words, they handed her a folded piece of paper. Official, cold, final. Her knees buckled. The room spun. The words blurred as tears streamed down her face. Sergeant Farid Khalid, your husband, was killed in action during combat operations in Yemen. The world fractured. Aisha sank to the floor, the letter slipping from her grasp, as if even holding onto it was too painful a reminder of what she had lost. Days passed in a haze. The villagers gathered to mourn with her, but grief was a solitary journey, and Aisha found herself trapped in a silence so deep it swallowed her voice. She avoided the places they had once shared. The mosque where they married, the courtyard bench where they had whispered promises, the hill overlooking the horizon where they had stood side by side beneath the stars. Yet, her heart refused to let go. Late at night, she would sit by the window, clutching the letters she had written, her fingers tracing the faded words as if they could bring Farid back. She spoke to him in whispers, telling him of her days, her pain, and the dreams that now felt shattered. I am lost without you, she would say, tears staining the pages. How do I live in a world where you are gone? Flashbacks haunted her, moments from their brief marriage glowing with bittersweet clarity. The way Farid had held her hand tightly on their wedding day, his gentle voice soothing her fears, the warmth of his embrace as they had sat beneath the moonlight. Each memory was a precious thread, binding her to a past that now felt unbearably distant. One particularly quiet night, Aisha dreamed she was walking through a vast desert, the wind cold against her skin. In the distance, she saw Farid, his figure bathed in golden light. He smiled at her, reaching out his hand. She ran toward him, but the ground shifted beneath her feet, and just as her fingers brushed his, he vanished, leaving only the echo of his voice whispering, "Stay strong, my love." She woke with a start, her heart pounding, tears streaming down her cheeks. The dream was both a torment and a comfort, a reminder that though he was gone, part of him remained with her. Days turned into weeks, and the seasons shifted. Aisha slowly began to emerge from the depths of her grief, not because she had forgotten Farid, but because she realized she had to live. For him, for the promise they had shared. She started to volunteer at the village clinic, helping other women and children. The work was hard, but it gave her a purpose beyond her sorrow. The smiles she received in return were small rays of light piercing the darkness. One afternoon, while tending to a child's scraped knee, she felt a presence behind her. Turning, she found an old woman from the village, her eyes kind yet knowing. "You carry your sorrow well, child," the woman said softly. "But remember, love is not only in the holding, it's in the living." Aisha nodded, the truth of those words sinking deep into her soul. She began to write again, not letters to Farid, but a journal, a record of her journey through pain and healing. She wrote of the love they had shared, the battles he fought, and the strength she was slowly finding within herself. Through her writing, Aisha discovered a voice she thought she had lost, a voice that spoke not only of grief, but of resilience, hope, and the unbreakable bond between two souls. Months later, on a clear evening, she climbed the hill where she and Farid had once stood. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the village. With a deep breath, she whispered into the wind, "I miss you. But I will live as you wished. I will carry your memory in my heart, always." As the first stars appeared, Aisha felt a quiet peace settle over her. The echoes of silence were still there, but now, within them, she heard a promise not just of loss, but of love that transcends even death. If you enjoyed this heartfelt story, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more touching tales like this. Your support means the world to us and helps us create more stories that warm the heart. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching and being part of our story family.